Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is today we're going to be looking again for the third time to IDEX, an Ideanomics company. This stock has been very hot in this week. That this is the third video I'm making on in a very short time. So as you can see, I've already disclaimed before. I've already have entered the stock and exited it. Not for a long-term position. So sometimes I do something called scalping, where I try to get a bit of quick profit onto some stocks. Just for a day or day change. So I leave usually a bit of my portfolio for that percentage where I just do quick exchanges and I leave my money where I think it's important. Now, for this stock here, I did actually enter the market at 58, leave around 60, 57. So it was a pretty good amount of $200, $300 that I was able to get out of it. But that was enough for me. So enough about that. Today we're going to be looking at a technical analysis standpoint, and I'm going to be going through a little bit of different things just for the stock to go more in depth. So I would recommend you watching my first video and a second update on DD for IDEX, then following this one. So previously, I have mentioned around here that the stock is more likely to grow, and then a little bit around this area here that we might see a little bit of a pullback, which we have. Now comes the next step. So we can see that the first thing that I want to mention is the MACD seems to have, let's put it here into, well, we're looking 1 month, 1 day first. It seems to be in a strong parallel direction that is going upwards. The signal line is below the MACD in a good position, so that looks nice. It has strong momentum that hasn't really pulled back much. It did pull back just a little here, but that's fine. It continued going. But there's a bit of things that I want to mention about this stock. Is that the most volume that we've received have already surpassed here, since this was the biggest jump that you have seen so far, and volume has started to decline on this one. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a little bit of a red flag. But you also got to remember that Thursday and Friday were a little bit of a harder sure days in the stock market, especially Thursday, where it really dipped quite a bit in Dow Jones and Nasdaq index. Now, I understand that some stocks don't work towards that, but that could be a little bit of why we saw a pullback as well. So looking into different things here, the stock doesn't really have any support at this point. When we're looking at it, it's almost reaching its all-time high. Now the one support that I would say might be seen could be around this area here, which is around 1.04, and you can see that it has almost touch that in a way. So I would say make sure if you would like to play with this stock that you have a stop loss limit somewhere. I would say around 99 cents to $1.04. So that's where I would play with this stock. Now it has seen a big bullish run. That's a good thing. But one thing to be careful of is the William percent R seems to be very low. Now, when the William percent R is a little bit onto the bottom, you can see around this area here, it has increased. And whenever it increases, that might be a little bit bad news. It just means that the stock is overbought in that area, and then you might actually see a little bit of a massive sell-off. Now, what I want to look at here is the unbalanced volume, and you can see previously the unbalanced volume has been around a little bit. I would say this looks like a good average, around 7.73 million, and just in the recent time I think it was almost around negative something million here. Let's look. 5 days, 1 day. Oh, that's not good. Well, yeah, we're seeing around quite a bit of a negative number at that point. It means there were shares being dumped. Now, this has increased an incredible amount into the unbalanced volume, which means there's a lot of bag holders on this stock. So this stock requires only more of a one bad news or one lack news off that is anticipated to be good off, where the stock just literally snaps and breaks all apart. You got to be very careful. Make sure you have your stop order limit. This is one of the stocks that I would make sure to put a stop order on. My last video, I mentioned that why I don't like stop orders, but I use them sometimes. This would be a good time to use it. If you're not comfortable in putting it in that way, I'll show you a better way to, or another way you can put it in. So the 200 SMA is what I consider a stock to be whether expensive or cheap. Now this stock, even though the technical analysis, and I'll go through it, is a bit mixed, I have good feelings for. So the 200 SMA, the stock seems to be a little bit too expensive above that, which is trading right now around, let's say, 87. So the stock is a bit more expensive than that region, and that's why I only traded around there. But the better news here is that the 10 SMA has actually finally crossed over the 30 EMA, which is a good sign. So we're getting mixed signals from the technical analysis point of view. Now, the other thing that we're looking at in terms of here, let's try to look into the 1 month, 1 hour period. And it gets a little bit tough in this situation here, is the VWAP. And you can see the VWAP here, whenever it's above, it's more of a bullish run. And whenever it's below, it's seeing a little bit of a bearish run. Let me just do the 5-day, 1 hour segment here. Get better. You can see it's actually trading very close to the VWAP rather than above or below. So that's not giving me much news in that way. It's just basically on more of a neutral level. Going towards the 10 SMA and the 30 EMA, they appear to be touching, and the last day are getting very close, which means there could be a sign of reversal. And you see over here, 30 EMA is actually a little bit above the 10 SMA into the 1 hour scale, and that can really mean a snap in the market. You can see the willing percent R is at 0, which is something insane to see in a stock, especially ones that are trading. But again, this is the aftermarket, so I don't trust the aftermarket so much, but I would say it's tending to be more about the overbought region here and then going oversold. So around here, you can see it's more going to that direction. So there's a lot of change that happened with little volume. So that might be a little bit of a red warning for me. So might receive a little bit of a short pullback, but here's the good news that is coming for this company. It seems that the company has a lot of rumors and a lot of news coming in with EV cars, whether Tesla or Toyota's and selling taxis. So it seems to be a massive company. So that's a good news because the fundamental parts is very important. Now, I am a fan of technical analysis for short term. This is a stock that their fundamental analysis looks nice. I wouldn't go through the fundamental analysis in this video, but it seems to be very promising. But my biggest issue is one wrong news can really burst this bubble. If you look, for instance, what happened in IZEA today, that could be a very good example. Hype stocks usually are a little bit harder to maintain momentum, especially since we're not seeing a massive increase in the buy-in rate. So that could be alarming, where all you have right now is bag holders. And if you do at some point and they get fed up and you start getting a selling, that could be catastrophic. Now, from what I see here is that there's two news that were put out. Stock here, it seems to be they love the aftermarket. So you can see in the recent days, they're putting it around 540 for 2 days straight, around 430. So right about closing time. We can see here that there was more. It's not really an offering per se, but it's more of, I believe this one has actually closed. If I read through more into it, we expect the shares to be on around 12. So it appears that they have agreed into more of a direct offering per se, and that has been gone without even publicly announcing it. So it seems that the stockholders or the company itself are hiding that news to keep the stock as high as possible. Now, yes, that could be a good sign, and it probably is in favor of the stock itself and the price of the stock, but I see that a little bit as a bit sketchy in that sense. Now, before the comments come in, more of a negative side, I myself see this stock as a little bit of risky, but could potentially get to a high reward. Now, it's a little bit harder to draw different lines and trend lines for this, but in this stock, I'm gonna be reaching out moving averages. Let's take a quick look about that. All right, so this is the IDEX. So it seems that it is trading within the moving average bands, which is pretty good. It seems that the moving averages have been a little bit stable today, so and it looks like it's more reversing into upward direction, which is a good news for me. So all looks good. But again, as I said, this is more of a news stock, so and more has hype. So you got to be very careful. Make sure you have your stop order. I myself, my opinion is that I wouldn't touch this stock, but it could have higher rewards. And I definitely could scalp it. And I just mentioned here before that I bought some stocks and sold it, so I did touch it before. But going forward, I'm very skeptical. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Make sure you mention any comments in the DD mention any stocks you want me to DD in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, make sure to send them down below and I'll be happy to answer them. Have a wonderful day.